it on the level, keep it on the level. I'm climbing up the...
Hey, what is up guys? Hey, it's Paddy here. So in this video, we're going to be talking about pricing. So how should you price your products or services? Should you price it higher? Should you price it lower? What really gets people to buy products at certain prices versus other prices, right? So here is the thing. What you first of all need to take a look at is how do sales actually happen, right? How do purchases actually happen? So there are certain psychological steps that people have to go through when it comes to making their decisions before they actually take action to buy any given product or service. Now, here is the thing when it comes to pricing. What most people believe is that, oh, if I set my pricing high or if I set it low, it is not going to attract a lot of people, or it is going to attract a lot of people in the latter case, right? However, this couldn't be any further from the truth, because what determines the actual decision for people to make any purchase is not so much the price as it is the value. You really have to think about it, because what is money actually? Money is always the end result of giving value, right? So when it comes to pricing, people always look at, here's the funny thing, whenever you say to someone like, okay, here's a product or service, it costs X amount of dollars or whatever currency you're at. So the number one question that people have in mind is like, okay, what does this thing do for me, and how and what is the actual value that it actually contains? So when you think about it, it really goes to show you that it's not so much a question of price as it is a question of value. And here is the thing, but you might say like, oh, okay, Paddy, but people always bitch about the price and people always tell about this and this and this and that. Well, that is also the point that I'm trying to make. When it comes to pricing, it isn't simply about thinking like, okay, how much money do I want to make off this product or service? You have to think about what value am I adding to people and how much is that actually worth, right? So imagine if you are, let's say, a doctor, right? And you have a cure for, let's say, cancer, right? How much is it worth to a person to be rid of cancer? Is it a solution? Are we talking about a $10 solution? Or are we talking about a solution that is easily worth millions, regardless of whether someone could pay that actually or not? And that is really what you have to think about. Let it sink in for a moment. You don't want to price things based on, let's say, your cost of labor or anything of that. You want to price your products or services always based on the amount of value that the solution or product, service, whatever is worth. Because when you think about it, that changes the entire conversation. Then it is less about, okay, their customer or their client, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the cheapest solution, or are you looking for the best solution? Because at the end of the day, everybody wants the best solution, right? But at the same time, everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And what I mean by that is that people will always strive to wanting the best, but always wanting to put as least amount of effort as possible. Which is why for you, it is important that you change this conversation by really focusing on, okay, how much value does my product or service has for this person, right? And you charge based on the value that your solution is providing versus the amount of cost or whatever that you have. Because you have to think about it. At the end of the day, your product or service is geared towards serving a certain type of customer or client as opposed to any type of customer or client. So it's not going to help everybody, which means that it is tailored to a specific set of customer. So for example, you see this with all sorts of products, right? You can have an iPhone or a luxury car, luxury watch, or whatever. It all is geared towards different types of people with different types of values. So this is why you'll see someone is willing to pay, let's say, like $3,000 for a computer or for a handbag versus someone who would pay maybe like at most $100 for the exact same products, right? So it all has to do with what value are you providing, not just in the product or service, but also the value that the other person has. So you have to really connect also with your target audience, your target market when it comes to your pricing your products or services. And at the same time, what you also want to do is really think about how do you want to position yourself in your market space, because you have to think about it. Let's say that you are, for example, a relationship coach, right? And let's say that like everybody else, you maybe charge like what, $100 an hour, right? Because that's what everybody else is doing to be competitive, right? To charge competitive pricing. What is going to happen is that you're going to have this tough battle, because every type of customer or client is going to look at your price and is going to say, okay, how much different are you versus the other person, right? So you charge $100, the other person may charge $100. And what you also always have to keep in mind is that when you are focused on pricing, especially when you are focused on low pricing, there is always somebody that can do it cheaper. There is always someone who can offer products or services cheaper. And if pricing is your only means of leverage, so to speak, then you're gonna lose every single time. End of story. So what you want to focus on is, instead of like, oh, okay, I'm going to charge $100 an hour versus other people, you want to focus on value, because you have to think about it from the customer point of view. Let's say he sees a relationship coach that charges $100 an hour versus somebody that charges, let's say, $1,000 per hour, right? Or $2,000 per hour. Automatically, this person, without knowing anything about these coaches, is going to assume that the more expensive coach is at least 10 to 20 times better versus the other person, simply due to the fact that this person is charging more. Now, whether that actually means that this person can provide that much value, that's a different story, right? But my point is that your pricing will determine not only what type of customers or clients you're attracting, but it's also going to determine like how valuable your products or services are for the marketplace. So you have to think about, who do I want to attract? What problem or solution, what problem am I solving for people? What solution am I providing? You know, how much value am I actually giving people with my products or services, right? And you want to always base your pricing on that. And you never want to do things like focusing on charging, for example, per hour, simply due to the fact that everybody else is doing it, right? Or charging low prices, competitive pricing, simply for the fact that everybody else is doing it. Because honestly, what is truly competitive? It all has to do with value, because at the end of the day, no matter what price you are setting to your products or services, customers will always think like, okay, what value is this adding to me, right? You can see that it might be even very difficult to sell something like a pen for $1, even at that price, because people will always be like, yeah, how valuable is this thing actually, right? So you have to find a way where you can increase the value, because not only will it help you for your positioning, but it also help you with a lot of different things, like increasing your profit margins, growing your business at a much faster rate, working with less customers or clients, and still producing a huge amount of cash flow, which makes your business also very lean and allows you to do a lot of things, free up your time, for example. So it has a lot of benefits when you really charge your, when you focus your pricing for your products or services based on value, rather than simply just charging low or just charging high for the sake of it. So really focus on what you really want to achieve when it comes to your products and service delivery, and really always look at how is this helping the customer and what profound result is this really adding to a customer or client's life. This is why you can see that someone can easily charge thousands of dollars per hour for their services, simply because it is that much valuable to people. So that's actually what I have for you in this video. So I'm curious, how do you price your products or services? Drop me a comment below so we can have a conversation over there. I'm curious to see how you handle this with your business. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave a like, and I'll see you in the next video.